Mic check. Mic check. Um, hmm. Let's see. Mic check. Oh, it's all good? Good. All right. Thanks, House of Kraken. I appreciate it. Thanks for the input. We are going to start the day off with some uh, cats, which is always a good way of starting a stream. And let's see if this works. All right, that worked. Dresden, baby boy. Oh, look at you. Look at you. Oh, you're so cute. Thank you. That's scratchy. Yeah. You're so cute. Oh, I wish I could hold you while painting. Yeah, he's so cute. He's named after Harry Dresden, the wizard. Show your beans. People love the toe beans. Okay, okay. All right, you can have my chair. Here you go. Hey, hey, Rob's dead now. Thanks for the raid. How was the rest of your stream? For anyone who doesn't know, Rob's dead now just raided me on Twitch. And he is a fellow painter. We actually took a class together recently. Hey, it was nice. Awesome. Glad you had a good rest of your stream. The painting you were working on was looking like it was coming together real nice. So, yeah, he's a real good oil painter. I highly recommend checking him out if you're not familiar with him. I will share a link to your. I'm gonna have to. Can't do that with my little thing, but my little keyboard there. Let's see. How can I copy? I'll do it the hard way. There we go. All right. Now YouTube chat can also see. Not that there's anybody in YouTube chat at the moment, but there will be later on when they watch after the fact. It was starting to come together. Yeah, absolutely. It was looking nice. Yeah, I shared it on YouTube, so people there can see it too. Having two chats is sometimes a lot. House of Kraken says, I have two cats, a black one and one is really really fat and a skinny cat. That's funny. Dresden just looks fat. He's just so fluffy. He's actually on the thinner side for a cat his size. He's only like 11 pounds, I think, something like that. He's not. He's very long, but he's not very thick. We also have another cat. She has long hair too, and she looks like a little sausage cat, but she's also not that heavy. It's all fluff. You like go to grab her, and there's nothing there. It's all fluff. Yeah, we have three cats and a dog. The dog's a Australian Shepherd. That says we have a fluffy cat that's teeny under all that hair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes them look really, really large, but yeah. They look so pathetic whenever they get a bath. We don't, you're not supposed to bathe cats super often, but occasionally it comes up. And oof, they look pathetic when they're wet. I think it's funny how cats are so like they really do look pathetic all wet, especially if they're fluffy normally. They look like rats. I think wet cats actually look worse than hairless cats. Yeah, the hairless cats, they they're usually super ugly. Okay, or they're always super ugly, but there's also a cuteness to them. I've kind of grown a little fondness to them. A streamer I like has one. Well, like might not be the right word, but the streamer I've watched in the past has one, and he would hold it up to the camera, and it looked so pathetic and pear shaped, and its toe beans were all like visible and everything. So I don't know, made it cuter somehow. So I'm gonna start by making some very minor corrections because as I paint, everything kind of shifts around because I'm not very accurate. Yeah, uh, I rather like not be overly concerned with accuracy because I know that I can always fix my inaccuracies. Um, I don't know. Also, maybe this is just like how I am, but like I remember when I was a kid, I used to, you do coloring books and stuff like that, and I could never stay inside the lines. Rob's dead now says, self portrait is looking great. Anyways, gotta head out. Have a good night. Oh, absolutely, Rob. Have a good one. Me too. Bye. All right, House of Kraken. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I've always had a problem like being very accurate with my drawing, which is weird because I used to ink my drawings, but I don't know what it is. When painting, I always feel like I'm not super accurate as far as like staying within the lines and keeping everything where it's supposed to be. But like I said, it's also not the most important thing to me. So maybe that's why. My back and neck and everything today is all kinds of messed up. I went to sleep early last night and I slept enough last night. In fact, I think I slept too much last night because I woke up and my body was like, I don't know why you hate me, but I'm going to hate you back today. And decided to get revenge on me for sleeping too much. Um, yeah. I was just in the kitchen doing some things, and not not the classic like bending over and picking something up, just standing, and I could feel like the muscles in between one of my ribs on the other side just start to cramp up on me, just slowly, just tightening and tightening, and very painful. Um, I tried to like immediately, stretch it out and stuff, but it's too late. So I ran out to the chiropractor, but he was not able to fix it. So I've just been taking ibuprofen and trying to pay attention to my posture. That's kind of all I got right now. I know me sleep. I know. I was trying to be good. I was like, I literally got like 8 hours of sleep, maybe nine. Like it's crazy. Such a mistake. I really should always deprive myself of some amount of sleep. My body didn't know what to do with it. It's like, what? Are you trying to poison me? I will have my revenge. Yeah, there isn't a ton to fix right now, but I just thought I'd make sure that some of these details are correct. I mean, the eyes are kind of important, so getting that right, is is a good thing. Although I will say this, I don't think it's as important as people think to get the eyes right away. In fact, I think it's detrimental to get the eyes correct right away. Correct placement important. Correct, like I would say the eye socket. Like if you get the the bridge of the nose, the eyebrow, and the socket or orbital socket or whatever in the right place. If you get all that in the right place, both of them, which or just one if you only see one. But if you get those things in the right place, getting the eye accurate isn't all that important until the very end. I know I used to do this too, for the record. A lot of people, and how I used to do it is I used to start a painting. I would kind of like get everything in place and then I'd do the eyes. And that the idea was if you get the eyes right in the beginning, then, you have a good like base to go off of. And because the eyes are so important, you know that you have it correct. And like why paint a whole painting if the eyes are incorrect, right? That was the thought process. But my thinking on that has changed quite a bit. Um, Now I think getting the placement of all that stuff, the orbital socket and everything, is important, but the eyes themselves less so. And the reason I think you in fact don't want to get the eyes correct in the beginning is it's such a small detail. And if you get it, you're going to be afraid to mess it up. And then you're going to try and make the rest of the painting match the eyes in a way. Because you don't want them to be out of place because you don't want to change anything in them. But the whole painting as a whole is so much more important than just the eyes. So if you get the whole painting down right, you can finish the eyes and make them look like they fit the whole painting. Des says a lot of the YouTubers who do realism start whole hog full detail with the eye to start and then spread out. I can't do that. Absolutely, Des, and I can't either. I don't understand how they do that. And not only that, I have always been taught that painting in that way is not a good thing. Whether it be from the eye or from left to right, top to bottom, this idea of like painting, kind of like filling it in, kind of like paint by numbers or like a printer. And I'm not saying that's what they're doing, for the record. I'm just talking about the process of it, kind of. I have always been taught that's not a good way of painting or, bringing everything together. I've always been taught to kind of bring the painting to a finish all at once, kind of thing. And that's not entirely accurate because that's impossible. But the idea is to paint the whole thing and bring it constantly, like raise all of it until it's to a finish. And then you just put the final bits on to actually finish it. I had a teacher who said that the whole painting should always be at the same stage of finish throughout the whole process, which is impossible realistically, right? Because you can't work on the whole thing all at once all the time, especially if it's a big painting. It's impossible. But relatively speaking, it is possible. But yeah, a lot of painters on YouTube do that, and I really don't know how they do that. Alpi Fay or Alpi F, I never remember how to pronounce his name. He paints like that a lot, and I don't get it. I don't know how he does it. He's a great painter. I'm not taking away from his abilities. I just don't understand how he paints. Like I look at him paint, and I'm just like, I don't get how you do this. But yeah, he's once again, he's just such a good painter, and I see him paint, and it just seems like he puts down one brushstroke for every part of the painting and just keeps going, and I don't get it. And the thing is too that like I have known painters who, you know, my old art school teacher was an amazing painter. No offense to Alpi Fay, but easily as good as him, right? Like I'm not, not trying to make like compete between them, but he was really like technique wise, he was unbelievable. And he wouldn't paint like that. So, but different styles, different approaches, they're all valid. If you can get if you can get the painting you want out of it, by all means do it. Yeah, my old art teacher was old. For the record, I say old as in like when I was in art school. That's what I'm referring to, not like he was so old, you know. No, it's not that's not the point. But yeah, he drove me crazy sometimes with how good he was. Like I remember he used to teach a lot of basic figure drawing classes. So he did a lot of work with charcoal on newsprint, a lot of figure drawing, both portraits and figures. And I remember watching him do a demo one time, and he grabs the charcoal and he starts putting it down. And I'm watching him do this, and I'm like, oh, because he starts to go kind of sideways, and it looks like he's doing the eyelid. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's doing the eyelid, but that's kind of a weird placement for the eyelid. Like I'm looking at the model, and I'm looking at what he's painting, what he's starting to draw, and I'm like, That's not in the right place. Uh, you know, and then he takes it and he starts curving it down, and he starts curving it down way too far to be the eye, and I'm like, oh, he's doing the nose. And I'm like, but that doesn't really fit for the nose placement either. It's kind of strange that he's doing the nose like that kind of thing. And then he takes the thing, and the charcoal. It's a charcoal pencil with a long, sharpened, lead or whatever charcoal, sticking out. And he takes it and he starts, and like I said, he starts to go down, and then he kind of twists it, goes up a little, turns, and then back, and then like a little flick at the end, and he just drew the whole ear. Like flat, one stroke, the whole ear. I was just standing there going, "Oh my god! Like why? Well, like what the fuck, man? Like why would you ever start with the ear? It's kind of facing him, so I guess that's why. But like, why would you start with the ear? And then in one, like with one stroke of the earth, like what the fuck, man?" It's just one of those moments. It's like you don't forget that because you see it and you're just like, how how did you just pull that off? And like I said, the ear was facing us, so it wasn't just like the corner of it. It was like the whole thing. Maybe he judges the rest of the placement by where the ear is. I think honestly, he could judge the placement of anything by any part. Like he was just really good at that. Like he was so experienced and so good at that point. I don't think he even needed it. Like he does, it. The way he described it one time to me was that the mask that people often draw to like lay in things. There's the midpoint, the bridge of the eyes, the nose. The muzzle of the mouth, the muzzle. All that stuff. He basically was like, I've seen it so many times, I can just kind of picture it overlaid on what I'm drawing at this point. Uh, I don't think he actually envisioned it overlaid like we think of as like a projector, but I think conceptually it was, and he had just done it so many times that it was just like nothing to him at that point. In my mind, I like to think that maybe I do something far less impressive, but that at some point I do something and someone watching me feels the same way that I felt about my teacher, only whatever I'm doing is, I'm saying, obviously way less impressive because what he did was genuinely impressive. And I don't think I do. Not talking about my finished work, I'm just saying, technically speaking, I don't think I do anything all that impressive. I like to think my paintings will impress people, but I'm just talking about the process itself. I don't think I do anything um, you know, all that special in that department. Did I go and practice the one stroke ear? No, I did not. And you know why I didn't? Um, I have a very good reason for not practicing it. At the time, I could barely do a many stroke ear. And since then, I haven't tried. It's like a magic trick. It might be. Maybe it is. Maybe if I tried it, I'd be like, motherfucker, it's obvious. Like, oh my God, that's not even that hard to do. I doubt it, but maybe. I will say this. I've practiced solving Rubik's cubes recently. Not that long ago. And I'll say two things about solving a Rubik's cube. Three, maybe. Solving it the dumb way, super easy. Anyone can do it. Super duper easy. Solving it the not dumb way is harder, but not that hard. Memorizing the very last row, that is hard. And I've been struggling with that. Uh, in the hard way. In the easy way, once again, it's super dumb. Anybody can do it. You just need to memorize some easy combinations. Super duper easy. Anyone can do it. But it's slow. It's very slow compared to like the fast pace, things that some people do. Also, lock picking for like padlocks. I'm sure there are some padlocks that are hard and some that are secure, but holy shit, most of them are a joke. Hey, Ashira. Wait, let me pronounce that. Ashiru? Am I pronouncing that right? Ashiru? Ashiru. I think Ashiru, but I might be wrong. Like Ash E Ru. Ashiru. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to get it right, but I'm bad with names. Do I use Medium? Yes, I do. I generally speaking, I don't use solvents. And yes, okay, cool. I got the name right. Generally speaking, I don't use solvents in my painting. The solvent I do use sometimes is Gam salt. I mostly use it to clean my brushes at the very, very, very end of my painting because I don't want the fumes. I don't have good ventilation here, so I only use it briefly. As far as mediums, I pretty much just use either walnut oil, linseed oil. I prefer walnut oil, or Gamblin solvent-free gel, or what is it called? Or oleo gel, which is my, I won't say preferred medium, but it's one of my favorite mediums. I like it more than the Gamblin one, but not everybody has access to it. They're very similar though. So oleo gel, for earlier stages, I prefer walnut oil because it feels thinner. It's not as it's not as thick. Although it's still fat, so keep that in mind. I assume you paint. Are you new to oil paints or have you been doing them for a while? Or both? Because that can happen. But I generally speaking, I don't use a lot of like medium in the beginning, like solvent, and prep my panel. I don't do that. It's possible to paint without solvent. Oh, absolutely. It's not a problem. I love the idea of oil painting, but medium and solvent is a little intimidating. Okay, so I'm happy you brought it up. Des, I'm sorry to you and anyone watching who has heard this spiel before. Let's get into some safety. First and foremost, don't eat your paint. That's always the big one. Don't eat your paint. Pigments are toxic, regardless of if they're in oil paint or in acrylics or anything else. Don't eat your paint. Also, don't use your paint as moisturizer. I know you know this. I'm just saying it's. But solvents. The thing about solvents is it's what's it called? The big issue with the two big issues with solvents is the main one is fumes. You have to have enough ventilation. Second is getting it on your skin. You can develop some nasty allergies to it. But you really don't need solvents depending on how you paint. I would say check out Gamblin'. They have a whole page on painting solvent free. But you absolutely don't need to use it. As far as mediums go, some mediums have solvent in it, some don't. So you have to check what does and what doesn't. Gamblin' solvent-free mediums don't have solvent in them. Regular oil paint, like linseed oil and walnut oil don't. Mgram makes a walnut oil that is fast drying. If that is important to you, it is not important to me, but if it is important to you, it is solvent free and fast drying. So instead of like liquid, I don't know how it compares to liquid. Like I said, it's never been a priority for me, so I can't really speak to it too much. As far as like toning your canvas, you don't have to tone your canvas. If you feel the need to tone your canvas prior to painting, you can either do it way in advance of painting to give it time to dry, or you can also paint it. You can also use acrylic to tone your canvas in advance of painting. You need to give it enough time to dry, of course, but yeah, if that's part of your process. I don't even tone my canvases. I do use a brayer usually midway to kind of push my paint around and make a mess, and that has the effect of toning my canvas as well. Des says, I hardly use any, but once in a while some of the paints out of the tube are thick and chalky, so I might dip the very tip of my brush into a bit of linseed oil. Yeah, well, I mean, linseed oil is just oil. There's no fumes with it, but it does make your paint fatter or thicker. So you do have to be aware of that. You tried painting on canvas a year ago, and it was fun, but it was self-taught and not really serious. But I want to try harder this year. Oh, that's fantastic! You absolutely should get into it. It's great. Painting's a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. And don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just focus on the process and don't worry about it. You'll get better over time. I mean, obviously try and get better, but like, don't put pressure on yourself. You'll get there. Just give it time. The painting is looking nice. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have a video I can share. It's not my video. It's a painter who I really respect, who's really good. She has a video on like the basics of oil painting as far as like all the stuff you would need and so on. It's pretty long. It's I think like an hour or 3 hours. I can't remember long, but she really goes into detail on it. She does use solvents, but like I said, you don't have to use solvents. You really can get away without it. Also, as far as painting, what's it called? As far as painting as far as the paint being too thick, there's a few things there. One, you can use oil to thin it down. Walnut oil is very liquidy, so a little goes a long way. And then the other thing you can do is there are certain paints that are known to be thicker and chalkier, and other paints that are less so. So if you go for paint brand that is smoother out of the tube, you won't need as much mediums and stuff like that. M-Gram is known for being very buttery or very liquid out of the, not liquid, but very smooth out of the tube. I almost never need to use a medium to like make it flow better. I will add something in case, this is in case, depending on how you paint. If you want to glaze a lot, like if you want to be a painter who does a lot of indirect painting, a lot of glazes, I'm not as knowledgeable there. I feel like you wouldn't be using, I feel like it wouldn't be a good idea to use solvents in that painting technique, but I'm not sure. I feel like solvents would make it adhere, like it would damage the paint bond, but or the paint layer or film layer. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm not sure, and I don't paint. I don't paint indirectly. I don't do a lot of glazes, so I don't know, unfortunately. I will also say, if you want to glaze, if glazing is like, that is the thing I want to do, that's how I paint, I will say, even though it's not as traditional, check out acrylics for that. And the reason I say not as traditional, a lot of people go, you're not familiar with the term glaze. Okay, so glazing, also known as like indirect painting or painting with washes, is when you take a thin translucent layer of paint and you paint that on top of the layer of paint that you currently have. And it's a very beautiful way of painting. It creates very luminescent paintings. It's just a different it's just a different approach to painting. And for some odd reason, it is, well, not some odd reason, it's associated with, what's it called? With oil paints, because in I'm trying to remember, it was like, I'm trying to remember when this was, in the Renaissance, I think it was. They used to glaze all their paintings, but maybe maybe I'm getting the timelines wrong. But anyways, that's how all painting was done at the time for the most part. It's like staining wood with transparent color, kind of, Laura. Yeah, kind of. Thin over thin. Yes, it's thin over thin over thin, but it's also translucent. It's paint that is naturally translucent. Um, yeah. Uh, I don't know how it fits with the fat over lean. Like I said, I don't paint with that system, and I don't know if, because it's so thin, the oil essentially is able to like penetrate past each layer to a degree to create a very strong bond. But we have paintings, to this day that are have survived. So a lot of them have stood the test of time, that's for sure. Laura says the pigments were too expensive, so they thinned it down and used less. They did everything grayscale and then put the color glaze on top. Absolutely. That's if you're familiar, if you've ever seen grisaille or a dead layer or a grayscale layer, like if you've seen a painting that was like all gray, that wasn't finished, that's what that is. Yeah, Laura's right about that. They were trying to preserve pigments. Plus, they often at the time were also limited in the types of pigments they had. So glazing can affect a lot of people. A lot of people do digital painting that way too. Yeah, they do that because it's easier to judge your values that way. Like you can get your values right, and then you can go in and you know, put the color that you want. But digital can control it a lot better than traditional. But yeah, it still does that in traditional. You can judge your values so much better that way. Um, but also, it paints change color depending on transparency. So an earth tone can look more red or more yellow depending on, like, certain pigments will look more, you know, like out of the tube they'll look brown, but if you glaze them they'll look more yellow or more red or so on. So they could get away with a lot more when they didn't have access to certain things at the time. But yeah, it's associated, the thing that kills me is it's associated with oil painting, but to me acrylics are so much more suited for glazing than oils are. And I never understood why, that association is there. How frequently do I stream? I stream 3 times a week: Monday night, Wednesday night, and Sunday day. I wish I could stream more, or at better times, but I do work, and you know, it is what it is. Yeah, welcome to the Discord. Laura, thank you so much. I didn't get to the spontaneous combustion. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. It is a big thing I always mention, and I didn't get to it. Thank you. One thing you need to be careful of with oil paint is combustion of your oily rags. This goes for any drying oil. If you want to refinish your deck outside and you put oil on you oil up some rags and you oil down the deck, the rags, you have to be careful with them because oil, when it dries, it oxidizes, which generates heat. It's not a problem on a surface like this, but if you have, let's say, an oil-soaked rag or an oil-soaked paper towel, you crumple that up, throw it in the trash. It traps all the heat inside of it, and it doesn't take much for, paper towels to catch fire. And then you have oil with fire, which is not a good thing. So you got to be careful with that. It's not super likely if your rag isn't very soaked, but it's a cautionary thing to be aware of. You can either lay out your rags flat to dry, because then they can't trap the heat in, or you can put it in a jar with water and soap, like dish soap and water, and then take it to the proper place to be disposed of. But yeah, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. That is a concern or a thing to be aware of. Also, I keep seeing this. If you've ever seen those jars, or you make your own jar for solvents, right? Make sure that the thing that you have the solvent in is airtight. The glass one with the coil inside that they sell at the art store isn't airtight. It's air, like it's not free flowing, but it's not sealed. There's no rubber gasket on it on the outside ring. So what happens, so if you leave it in a room, to sit for long enough, you get the fumes from it. If it has a rubber seal around it, it's airtight. It's not a problem. But yeah, like I can't get to it right now, but I have the metal travel ones. Those ones are airtight. But the glass one with the coil in it is not. Some of them do, apparently. Des says mine that has a coil has it has a rubber seal. That's good. Mine doesn't. I have this one. And there is no seal to it. That's why it's in a bag. I don't really use it, to be honest. I stopped using it, honestly. I need to throw it out, but yeah. It's not a coil, it's a mesh. Ah, that makes sense. That says art students usually have special cans to put the used art classes, yes. Have special cans to put their paper towels in. And she used to use doggy poop bags with some water. Yeah. If you're going plein air painting, that's what I used to do, is bring doggy bags, and I'd fill them with water. I'd put water inside and put my, what's it called? My rags in there. So many things to be worried about. There is, but it's not really that bad. I'll be honest. When you're just getting all of it like this, it is, but you pick it up real fast, and there's just a few things to really be careful and watch out for. And it's worth noting that almost all painting has things like this, that they're different, but almost all painting has something to be cautious of. For instance, I've gotten very sick with acrylic paints before, because acrylic paints, they're plastic and they can off-gas some of them, depending. So I got real sick from some fumes from acrylic, from a particular acrylic medium once. Now, I'm not saying all acrylics suffer from this, but how would I know that particular brand would make me sick, right? It has the little AP thing on it saying that it's fine. Laura says, I found it overwhelming till you started doing it. You only started a few weeks ago. Yeah, Laura's made a lot of great strides forward in her painting recently. Laura was good before, just not in oils, because she didn't paint in oils, but yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you learned a lot from me. I'm happy about that. But yeah, you'll catch all the nuances real quick. Basically, be careful of fumes, don't eat your paint, be careful of spontaneous combustion. Those are the three main, and your paint is not a moisturizer. So 4 major things, right? And if you worry about that, all the safety stuff is, for the most part, taken care of. Got to give it a try. Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you honestly, I was afraid of oil paints too when I first started, because when I went to art school, I did watercolors and acrylics for the most part. And then at some point I went all digital in my art career. And then I wanted to get into painting, and I really wanted to get into oils, but I was afraid of all the same issues everyone's afraid of, right? So I avoided them. I tried everything else. I did I did gouache. By the way, I like gouache. It's not my favorite, but I like it. I did gouache. I did what is it? Uh I didn't go back to watercolor because that wasn't what I wanted. So I did acrylics. I did a special type of acrylic that it was supposed to give me more control over the drying time. Not Golden Open, but a different brand. That didn't work out. That did not work out for me. I tried water-based, water mixable oil paints. That didn't work for me. Probably because I tried the cheapest brand possible. So if you do want to go with water mixable oils, don't go with the cheapest brand you can find. Also know that you're not supposed to use water in the painting process. It's just for cleanup, which makes it a lot less appealing in my opinion. Just personally, that like is far less appealing. Is oil my favorite? 100% oil is my favorite. Like it's not even close. Like it's nowhere close. But yeah, I was really bummed about the water mixable oils. Like I said, I used the cheapest ones you can find, and that was a bad choice. But just the fact that you have to buy special mediums for it, and you can't use the water except for when you're doing cleanup, that really took a lot of the wind out of my sails for it personally. I mean, technically you can use water, but you're not supposed to, and it suffers from a lot of the problems that acrylics do because of precision. Is your question that oils are my favorite because of precision, or is it that you're not supposed to use water because of precision? Actually, I'll answer both, just in general. You're not supposed to use water because the water essentially starts to break down the paint bond. So it breaks down the paint bond, A, and B, the other issue with using water in water mixable oil paints is that when water is wet, you can see it. It changes the color of things. Um, and then when it dries, it changes the color of things. So you end up getting color shift, which you don't really have in oil paints otherwise, with the exception of sinking, which I'm not going to get into. But essentially, oils don't color shift as they dry unless they sink. But that's a different thing. But acrylics do. And so when you add water into your water mixable oil paints, you kind of ruin them and turn them, slightly more into acrylics. Not exactly. They also dry faster, which is a problem. I mean, is it your favorite because of precision when painting? No. You can be precise in anything. That doesn't matter. Um, the reason I like oils, um, the experience of painting with oils, like what it feels like to paint with oils, just feels better. They're also um, they're also a lot more for oil's actually more forgiving than any other medium, in my opinion. It's the easiest. Um, I know I know Des is going to say otherwise, but once you get it is the most forgiving. You can always go back. You can always fix it. You can always correct. You can always wipe it. You can like it is just the most forgiving of all the paint mediums. Just is. Sorry, Des. You'll see. Give it time. You'll see. You'll see I'm right. How long do you wait to varnish a painting? So I'm not an expert on varnishing. What I will say is you're supposed to wait. I'll say this. Whatever the can of varnish says on it, I would go by that. Generally speaking, if you're going to varnish a painting, you're probably going to want to wait 6 months to a year to varnish it. That's with regular varnish. With retouch varnish, or I've also heard it referred to as, I think Des, I think you're the one who referred to it as this, but I could be wrong. Gallery varnish or show varnish, that you can do as soon as it's touch dry. The disadvantage of those varnishes is that they aren't UV protecting. Eden Nightmare says, for someone like me with motor skill problems, forgiving art is usually my way forward. Hey, welcome, Eden Nightmare, welcome. Yeah, I can definitely see how it would be helpful to have, if you have motor skill issues, absolutely. Also, I mean, obviously, depending on your level of motor skills, oil paint, what was I going to say? So you can control how it goes on. You can control if it's thinner, thicker, and so on. So if you have motor skill issues, you can, obviously, within reason, depending, you can change how you paint, and you can change how the paint acts as you put it on. So, I'm using a brush right now. I can use stiffer brushes. I can use softer brushes. I can use palette knives. I can use you can get these things too that they're like silicone, and they're just like bendy, right? And like this one's soft, but you can get harder ones too. So if you happen to have a heavy hand, and like this isn't like, because I know someone who has motor skills and they don't have the control to put something down softly, so you get something firmer. Also, you can paint on wood, or there's other options too, but you can paint on boards that are hard, which can give you a lot more control as well. Des says, okay, I'll admit I had to lift an eye completely by a micrometer, and it was much easier than you thought it would be. Yeah, nice, Des. Told you. Gallery varnish or show varnish was not you. Good to know. Asharu says, I was enjoying the stream a lot, but I need to go to sleep. Hey, no worries. You have school tomorrow. It's 3 a.m. here. Hey, no problem at all. Definitely hop onto future streams. Absolutely welcome anytime. Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. Those are my stream days. Have a good night. So yeah, Eden Nightmare says, oh wow, that looks really ideal. Thank you. I didn't even think of that. Absolutely. I will say this. Acrylics might be a good option as well, because a lot of the things that I just mentioned apply to acrylics as well. The only issue with acrylics, so the issues with oil paints and acrylics are reversed. Oils take a longer time to dry. Acrylics are much faster. Both of those things are positive and a negative depending on how you deal with the painting. Both are pretty good as far as like being able to scrape paint off. I think oils are a little better because they stay wet for longer. Like you can go in and move things around. Also, they have better coverage than acrylics, generally speaking. But acrylics might be a good option too, depending on your your preferences and your preferences on how you paint, what type of painting you want to paint, all of that stuff. I can actually talk about that some more if you'd like. Sujan, welcome. You're late. Nah, you're not late. You're always welcome whenever you can. No one's, no demands on people time. I appreciate everybody who stops by when you can. I know people are busy. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Des says, I ordered a cane off of Amazon and you use it as a mall stick, cheaper than a mall stick. Absolutely. A cane is a great option. I use this at the moment. It's one of those little magnets thingies. It's collapsible. It is not very sturdy. I do not recommend this for sturdiness. But if travel is an issue, then maybe. But a cane would be good. The only problem I would think I would have an issue with a cane is maybe because I stand up and paint. I might be a little like, But yeah, I'm sure you can get thin ones too. Also, if you happen to paint, flatter, like if you have a tendency to paint on a table, they sell these clear acrylic risers. They're like, they're maybe like this thick, this wide, like this thick, and it's just a piece of acrylic that like goes and curves, so you can put it on the desk and the artwork can fit underneath it, and it's clear so you can see your artwork through it and have your hand hover above it. I tried to get Nicholas Uribe to buy one of those, but he wouldn't. Hold on. Sujan says, I used a cane stick too, which is collapsible. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know they have collapsible ones. I didn't think about that. Dollar store sells broom handles and plunger handles for a couple bucks. Good point, Des. Good point. Eden Nightmare says I might be able to make that with a heat gun and a sheet of acrylic. Honestly, if you have like if you have a sheet of acrylic and glue that will stick to it, you can just glue a piece of pieces of wood at the edge, and you can make it as tall or as low as you want it. You don't really need to have the edges of it be clear. You just need the top to be clear. So you can probably make that pretty easy. Much simpler? Yeah, much simpler. Des says, my sister could use a keyboard cover so her cats don't walk across the keyboard. I've actually seen that. I've seen that where someone has a keyboard cover like that, and they can type, and the cat lays on top of their, above their hands and just like hangs out, which is so cool. Yeah, I didn't know about a cane with a adjustable cane or a collapsible. Only thing I know 3 types of canes. I know there are regular canes. I know there are canes that can stand on their own. They have like 4 little feet and they can stand on their own. I know there are canes that have swords inside. And actually, I guess that makes 4 things I know. I know there are canes that have metal parts in the bottom, and they're basically a stun gun for it's for the elderly to protect them. Well, I guess not the elderly. It's for anybody who needs a cane to protect themselves. So you can hit people with it, and it's basically a stun gun at the same time. Not a gun, taser. That's it. Like a, taser. Des says that her sister has a heat gun. You should tell her about the acrylic thing. Like I said, she doesn't even need to do the warping thing. Just glue some other acrylic pieces to it. Who cares? That's just for like making it super nice where it like slopes, It's probably cheaper for companies that make it, but like for individuals it's probably more of a hassle. Wow, the expression here in the painting is very engrossing. Oh, thank you, Sujan. I appreciate that. That says we aren't allowed any tasers or stun stuff here. No pepper spray or anything. And Canada. Oh, I should mention this. I am doing a self-portrait, not this time, but it's because I was on the podcast Drawn Together. So anybody who is interested, I have a link in the description in my YouTube channel. You can go there. You can see the episode. You can also download the images. And you're more than welcome to do, there's like 3 images. You're more than welcome to do a drawing or painting of any of those. Tag me, tag Dylan, Sarah, and Shannon, and Drawn Together. Yeah, would love to see it if you do. Des did one. A bunch of other people I know who aren't here at the moment, like Don Lee, did one. So it's a lot of fun. Eden Eldith says, UK here, same. What? You can't have a pepper spray in the UK? Really? Sujan says, I would love to see you critique our paintings here if possible someday. I'm ready to send my work by. I can't see that right now because of its stupid heart. Your perspective is very educational by mail. You in my Discord. Sorry, Des, I do not have a command for it, but in my Discord, there's a link in there's a link in the description to my Discord. In my Discord, there is a feedback channel. It's only to get feedback from me, because I don't want anybody, putting stuff in there and getting, feelings hurt because someone isn't good at giving feedback or doesn't give it in a kind way or whatever. So I'm the only one giving feedback there. But yeah, you can absolutely drop it in there. I will give feedback, and it won't be like immediately, just FYI. It usually takes a couple days, but I'll get to it. And yeah, I'll happily give some feedback. Same Eden from Twitch. Hey, welcome. I will say this, Twitch has better chat and less latency, and I prefer all of that stuff, but I do prioritize my YouTube because it has higher quality, and it hasn't bugged out on me nearly as much as Twitch has in the past. For like 6 months, I couldn't even get on Twitch for some reason. Like literally, you can't log into Twitch. Why? I don't know. Okay, cool. So I do prioritize my YouTube a little bit, but I do try and stream on both whenever I can. Live would be very, very useful though. I'll tell you what, Sujan, I will be happy to do a review live on stream if you're happy with me showing your artwork on stream. If you don't mind, and it's TOS friendly, I will happily do it on stream. I just didn't want to assume because I'm always worried that people might not want that, right? So I'm cautious about that, but I'm happy to do it on stream. Absolutely. In fact, it would be so much easier for me to do it on stream. because I am dyslexic and I am bad at writing stuff. I'm also not great at reading. So, yeah, doing it live would be absolutely fine for me. You just have to be okay with me posting it on and like putting it on camera. Yes, of course, want very brutal critique, no ego at all. So here's the thing. I understand where you're coming from. However, I don't believe in that anymore. I used to feel that way. I don't think you need to have brutal critique. I really don't. Fair and honest critique is absolutely fine. The brutal part of it, I'm not a fan of anymore. I used to think that's the way, but I've changed my mind on that. I think that's just a way for people who I think that's for the most part a way for people who either don't want to be nice or don't have the ability to use tact. I think those are the people who started that because I don't feel that way anymore. And I don't think it helps people either. Like I don't think it's beneficial. Because the reason I say that is because I can convey to you the same issues without being mean about it, right? And I know that brutal doesn't usually mean mean, but so often it is used that way. So honest and fair critique is the what I always strive for. Um, so yeah, but I get where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming from. I remember I've seen videos of people. You meant honest. I know you did. I know you did. I know you did. Like I said, I feel like so often it's just used in the wrong way. And like I said, not you. I don't, not you at all. So I totally get where you're coming from. But yeah, I'll be happy to do that. I will say this. I also think it's, I'll give you a credit, not credit, but I will say I think it's, a lot of people would be shy of having their work critiqued publicly. So I think people shouldn't because I think there's nothing wrong with it. But I also think it's really cool that you're up for doing it live, you know. I would love to do that eventually if I had enough followers, I would love to do like you know, a like a critique stream once, you know, I don't know, a month or whatever, every couple months or whatever, you know. I think that'd be so cool. I remember seeing a video, Sujan, to get back to like being the, you know, brutal thing. I think this is one of the things that stuck with me. Once I saw a video of an art teacher talking about how at their workshop they critique people and they're talking about it like being brutal and being, you know, honest, but like real brutal about them and breaking the people down. And I'm like, man, this isn't the fucking military. Like, we don't need to, you don't need to be like that. Like, just, you can be honest, but you don't like that attitude was just over the top. And I was just like, I get the feeling that this probably produces a, like, a feeling of profound, you know, makes the workshop feel more profound, but I feel like it probably doesn't last with how that's done. Yeah. Sujin says, I recently did plein air with water mixable oils using water as medium. It felt so tacky and lifeless, no vibrance. Any comments? Windsor Newton artisan brand. Okay. So, first of all, good on you for picking a brand that isn't the cheapest, dirt cheap brand you can get, because that's actually a decent brand. So, good start. Um, you're not supposed to use water with water mixable oil paints in the painting process. That's why that happened. I know that's counterintuitive to the name, but yeah, you're not supposed to use water with them. The water is supposedly just for cleanup. So you can buy a medium for it. They have special mediums for their water mixable oils. Um, yeah, that's my understanding. Noted. Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was one of the things that turned me off from using water mixable oils, because in my mind the whole point was to use not to use medium, and here I am having to use uh you know uh actually I wasn't supposed to use, it was solvents I didn't want to use, and here I couldn't use the water I wanted, and so it's like, okay, whatever. Also, like I said, the brand I bought was uh I think it was Reeves. It was like really, really cheap, you know, paint. um, hold on a second. My computer is doing something weird. Oh, that's strange. That's so weird. My Google Assistant just suddenly decided to listen in on my conversation. That was weird. You know, the funny thing about plein air painting um, is that plein air painting is probably the best place to use solvents, because you're outside, right? You don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about what's it called, ventilation, right? So ironically, or maybe not ironic, that's not the right word, but yeah, I think actually plein air might be the best place to use solvents. So I was talking, or it came up in stream in Rob's Not Dead, Rob's stream today, about painting hair and painting beards and so on. We kind of talked about it a bit, and I thought I'd talk about it a little on stream uh, while I'm painting some of it. So I, generally speaking, don't want to go and get like very, very tiny brushes and paint, um, what's it called? You know, paint every individual hair. It's like something I really, really don't want to do. Um, but that does, you know, that does create a bit of a challenge when painting hair because it is such a fine, fine thing. And especially the individual hairs, like loose strands and hair lines where anywhere where the hair, either on the head or the beard or eyebrows, anything that like that meets the skin can be very, very difficult. Um, so I thought I'd talk about that a little bit today. Do I like to paint other than portraits? Uh, I, I that heart on the interface is driving me crazy. Uh, one day I'll figure out what to do about it, but in the meantime, I'm going to bitch about it because it's annoying me. Do I like to paint other things? I'm assuming other than portraits is what you're asking. Something along those lines, at least. Yeah, I do. I don't. I mostly like to paint figurative stuff. So people and things that people are involved in, but I don't, or people as the subject, but it doesn't always have to be close up on the face and a portrait. Um, hey, Don Lee. Good to see you, man. Welcome. Don Lee, by the way, is a streamer on Twitch. He streams under the name Don Leo. That's Don Lee underscore O with O's and 3 H's. Check him out. He recently was doing a portrait of me based off of the paint or drawn together podcast that I was on. Links are in the description, by the way, for anyone who wants to check out the drawn together thing. I did not put a link to your video though today, Don Lee. I'm sorry. Indeed, the heart on the interface is dumb. It is so dumb, and you can't move it. You can get rid of it though, but it comes at a severe cost. Um, if you get rid of it, people can't. I think they can thumb up your stream. They can give it a thumbs up, but they can't like it. Like if they hit the like button on the heart, they can't do that anymore. You completely remove that from your stream and from your videos. So they can't click on that at all, which is really frustrating. Thanks for the like, by the way. I appreciate it. But yeah, I like to paint mostly people. Uh, like I have some of those paintings from the found photography where you can see there's landscapes in it, but the landscape is not the focus. I don't really enjoy painting landscapes like on their own. I've done it a few times. I've gone plein air painting. It's really very hard and challenging. Um, but yeah, I don't find it. I'm not as interested in it. And I think anytime you're like, I think you should push yourself in general to paint things or draw things that you aren't naturally inclined to. It's good to push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's good to make an effort, but at the same time, there's a limit, and it's worth recognizing that if something is not of interest to you, you're not going to do as good a job on it. Um, so it's that it's definitely something to keep in mind when one is learning to draw or paint. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's not. I guess it's just not for me. Is what I'm getting at. I'll still go plein air painting occasionally. It's good to do, and it's so freaking hard that it's worth doing. So I'm going to go back to talking about hair a little, although I'm still open to talking about other things. I'll interweave everything back and forth as I go through it. Um, but yeah, so the thing with hair, there's many approaches to everything in painting. Um, there's lots of ways you can go about trying to paint hair. I I'm not a fan of the approach of like um, either getting super fine brushes and painting every individual strand. I do not want to do that. That sounds miserable to me. Don't get me wrong, you can paint lovely paintings that way. I'm talking more about the experience of doing it, not the look of it, right? Um, so yeah, I hate that. Another option is to get a brush like a fan brush or an older brush that has the bristles kind of showing through, and that will give you that like brushy effect. That can be very useful. I'm even doing a little bit of that now, but once again, that feels a little bit, um, hate to say this, it feels a little bit like Bob Ross painting. I'm not shitting on it too much. It's obviously there are times where brushes like that give an effect that is really good. And also I love Bob Ross, for the record. I just don't like painting like him, but I do love the guy. I think he's fantastic in so many ways. Um, so that brings but that does bring us to the issue of like, okay, well, if I don't like painting it like this and I don't like painting it like that, so what is left? And um, what is left is trying to give the illusion of all of those things. Thanks, all need to go. No worries, Sujan. Um, thanks for stopping by. Remember, put your thing in the Discord. I'll happily I'll talk with you in the Discord about when, and we'll arrange it, and I'll do it on stream. So yeah, the big thing I go for is the illusion of those things. Squinting helps a lot because you condense it all so you can see what you really need to do to make it convincing. And then trying to do that. The other thing is I and I'm not saying that I think everybody should do this because I don't. But if you watch me paint hair, I paint hair very similar to everybody else a lot of times. But I also do something that I don't think I've seen a ton of people do, which is I use flat brushes to paint hair. I use the edge of the flat brush, but I go perpendicular to the way of, like, to the direction of the hair. And it is very counterintuitive. Um, and it definitely does not help you achieve very like smooth, flowy hair. If that's what you're going for, this isn't going to do that for you. Um, but the reason I do it, actually, there's a few reasons I do it. One, I'm just probably a weirdo, just that. Um, and it also prevents me from doing some of the things I want to, like getting a brush and dragging it through to give the bristles, to get those bristles through the paint. Like I said, I'm not opposed to doing that ever. I just don't want to do it all the times. Um, and then the other thing is also I don't use a lot of round brushes or rigger brushes, which are very long round brushes. And for those brushes, you usually have to water down the paint, or water is not the right word, but make it more liquidy. And those, by the way, are called riggers because of people used to paint the rigging on sailboats with that. Um, that's where that comes from. But yeah, um, I don't have a lot of those brushes. I don't usually use them, so out of laziness, I just use the sharp edge of my flat brushes instead. Um, and I'll use it both perpendicular to the strands of hair and also with them too sometimes. So it's not only this way or that way. But yeah, that's generally my approach to hair. And another thing is when you're doing the transition places, some people, a lot of digital artists will paint the underneath color and then paint the hair over it, literally layering it. Um, you can do that with oils and acrylics both. Um, I try and kind of mix the in-between color and paint that in usually. So the yeah, that did it again. So my hair is dark and the skin underneath is obviously my skin color. The highlights are often, or not often, but right now, they're kind of the same color as my skin almost. They're a little more gray, but the highlights, but I'm talking about the light reflecting off of my hair and the reference. But it's still kind of close to my skin color. Um, and that makes it look like I just don't have hair there. So I have to be very careful about the color there. Otherwise, it's just going to look like I have streaks of bald spots going through. Eden says, I do have to go, but I will be in the Discord and checking this out more on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much. And no problem. Thank you for all the tips as I've been out of art for a while. It's given me a spark. That's great. Welcome back. You should, I think it's great. I encourage everyone to get back into art. Um, did I want to zoom back out? Huh? Hard to see where you're painting. Oh, yes, I paint Monday evening, Wednesday evening, and Sunday afternoon. Yes. Awesome. Okay, YouTube glitched out on you. All right, Donley. I was surprised because I do have a Zoom, but I wasn't using it. So I was like, what is happening here? Okay, cool. So yeah, I grayed out the color a little bit more than it probably actually is, just so that these lighter parts don't look like missing hair as much as they look like highlights or, or reflection. I think what I'll probably end up doing is for the like very, very small highlights, I'll go even warmer to compensate. But yeah. In case anybody's watching, well, I mean, obviously there's some people watching right now, but who needs to hear this, or anybody watching later needs to hear this. Um, Making art is, I think very enjoyable. Obviously, I love it. Um, and while everybody I know who makes art wants to be better at it, literally everybody I know wants to be better at it. Um, it's also not a competition, and not everybody needs to, wants to, or should, or is suited for being a professional artist. But not whether or not you're a professional artist doesn't mean you're not a valid artist. It just means you're not making money from it. Doesn't mean anything else. That's literally all that means. There have been artists in history that were unbelievably good and weren't professionals. Uh, so that that's not a factor in making art, really. Um, so just throwing that out there because people have really weird perceptions of it sometimes, and I just want to encourage people just to do it for the fun of it. Purely for the enjoyment of making art. And the fun thing is, if you prioritize making of art, not the like finished piece, the process is the priority, not the finished piece. If you make that your priority, you have way more control over it. You'll enjoy it a lot more, and you'll actually come out with better paintings or artwork of whatever type eventually. Um, so yeah, it's easier said than done. I totally recognize that, but I just thought I'd mention it. Hold on a second. I'm going to go say goodnight to Michelle. This says fun of making art and spending all your money on supplies and filling your house with paintings you have no place to store. Okay, okay, okay. Challenge accepted. Let's talk about this. First of all, Des, you're right. Um, to a degree, you're right. But I'll put it this way, okay? Um, I don't think if you're privileged enough to not be barely surviving, and I recognize that that is, not everybody's like there are people who are barely surviving, and I get that. I've been there. I have. So I get that. Um, Having said that, if you have money and time to pursue passions or interests. Um, Spending money on different types of art supplies, on different mediums, on all these different things to discover what you like, what speaks to you, and it could change over the years, I think is a good thing, right? Like overall, that's a good thing to do. But I get it. It's not always easy, and so on. I will say, I think people can be. Hold on a second. Oh, I was looking at Des and Eden's conversation on Twitch. Okay, that's talking about your colors. Okay. Um, I will say, I do think that there are things that you can do to save money when purchasing whatever art supplies you happen to be working with. So I do think you can be, I don't want to say smart about it, because that's incorrect. I'll say um, you can get good or bad information, which can dictate how much money you end up spending on said supplies. Uh, Absolutely. As far as having having a house full of paintings with no place to store them, there are some things you can do about that. Most of which you can't do after the fact. It's more prior to making your paintings. And for that, I'm talking about like painting on flat boards or painting on paper or, things that don't, basically the idea is things that don't take up a lot of space is what I'm getting at, right? Um, that can definitely help. Also, when you first start out, I'm a little hesitant to say this because it's a tricky one, but giving people gifts is cool. I'm hesitant because a lot of people, I've heard horror stories of family members who, um, you know, take advantage of people's generosity in that area. But, depending. Also, you can always, go out and sell at a flea market or a craft fair. You can have a table at a craft fair for like $25 and sell your paintings. I've seen people do stuff like that too. Just to make back the money that you invested if you want, or to make a little side money. And yeah, craft fairs, the tables aren't small ones at least. They're not that expensive. And if they are, they're not worth it probably. This says only thing I've sold at an art fair is a rainbow bookmark. People don't buy anything significant. Okay, it depends on the craft fair, but definitely there are a lot of craft fairs people won't buy a lot, but it depends. There are some me and Michelle were at a craft fair in LA. It's one that is hosted monthly, I think. And there are people there who had booths, what's it called? Like perpetually there, right? Like that. Michelle's yelling out Melrose Trading Place. And they have there's like places that sell furniture there, and it's not cheap. So that does exist too. Um, it just depends on the craft fair. Like we've been to other craft fairs that they really people would not buy, but we've been to ones where people Hold on. 1 second, I have to yell back. Michelle's trying to recommend there's a craft fair in LA called Jackalope that people also buy at, but I'm informing her that some of the people who I'm talking to right now are in Canada, so she has no clue about that. But anybody who is in LA, Jackalope and the Melrose Trading Place are ones. And Renegade Craft Fair. Okay, please stop yelling out names. It's hard for me to hear. Renegade Craft Fair might be in Canada? Okay, good to know. Thank you. Michelle, please stop yelling out names. I do appreciate it, but please stop. This says, we actually have a craft fair in town this weekend. I might go check it out. Yeah, it sounds great. When we moved to Austin, we did a few craft fairs here, and I was surprised, like, to see some painters at the craft fairs that we did, uh, purely because of the like size and type of craft fair it was. It didn't seem like It didn't seem to like go with it, but they did, and I have no idea how well they sold, but I've seen multiple artists at them, so I'm sure they sell. Once again, prices are also an issue, but yeah, it's a good idea to go and check it out and try and get some information, and see what it's like. All right, let's. Okay, I'm getting to the point in this painting, which is a 100% arbitrary, um, and subjective point where I'm getting tired of my own painting. And this is often this is where I just make stupid mistakes because I get impatient. Uh, so I'm going to try not to do that, but I can definitely feel the impatience, just like I just want to be done with the painting already. Part of it is also I am not a fan of painting myself, I'll be honest. I've done self-portraits, but it's usually because, I'm always available to model for myself more than anything else. More than like I wanting to, like I don't want to paint myself. It's just, you know, I'm available. I'm here. Uh, so yeah. Des says, I don't like selling my paintings. I'm so attached to them, it's silly, I guess. I don't think it's silly. I will say, no, I don't think it's silly. I, I do feel differently about my paintings. I'm not going to say I'm not attached to any of them because there have definitely been some paintings that I've done that I'm attached to. Some of the ones I'm attached to, I just won't sell. And I have sold one painting that I kind of miss, where it's like I sold it and I'm happy I sold it. I'm happy that the people who own it, but I also want it back because it happens to be like one of my favorites that I did, and I haven't done any, since then that. I'm not going to say I haven't done any since then that I like as much because that's not true, but it's a standout one, and I kind of regret selling it, but not entirely. I don't know if that makes sense. Eventually, I won't regret it. That's the thing. I know. In the long term, I won't regret it. And the reason I know this is because I'm just going to paint so many paintings that eventually, A, I'm going to get much better. B, I'm going to have different interests over time. Uh, and so in the long run, I'm not going to regret it, and I'm happy they have it. I think when I this might not be true, um, but a lot of painters I know are not super attached to their paintings. Um, and I think part of that is the idea that it's just kind of like they're attached to it while they're painting it, but once they're done with it, it's like, all right, done, move on. I'm on to the next thing already. But that's definitely not all painters, and I want to be clear, I don't think it's necessarily a sign of like quality, right? So I want to be clear on that. I don't think it's like, oh, well, if you're attached to your paintings, clearly you're not that good. No, that's not it. It's just a mentality thing. But I will say that my mentality has changed about it. And I think part of that is as I got better. I do think that's personally been part of it. The other thing, though, too, is getting into comics and then getting into storyboards. I do so many drawings a day. Like it is ridiculous. I draw so many drawings a day. I can't be attached to them. I just, you know, just impossible. Um so yeah, I think that's also part of it. But yeah, I did want to make sure that it's to be clear, it's definitely not a quality thing because I know that there are some painters out there who are like unbelievably good. And I've even heard of stories of painters who have a hard time making a living because they won't sell their paintings, even though they're like sought after. So just want to make sure it's clear about that. Donley says, I could see how that helps you be less precious with your work. Yeah, yeah. I also personally found that I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I've had it a lot where like I'll be working on a painting in the past, uh, I've I'll have a painting. I'll be working on a painting, and I put a lot of importance to it, a lot of value in it, and it's like it's a big deal. and it doesn't come out good, and it's like, I put all this effort and all this work into this, and it's just like, it's not that good. And then I do a painting or a drawing or a sketch or something, completely like just not caring at all. And it just flows and everything works and it just comes out so good. And I'm just like, why? Why? Why is this the experience? And I think I know partially why that experience is the pressure of getting it right the first time just makes you do a worse job. It's too much pressure, for me at least. And talking, obviously, I'm mostly talking about myself here because that's the only experience I have. So keeping that in mind, I've tried to foster um, a kind of caring where it's like I want to do the best I can, but I have to like not care about ruining it because you know it it alleviates that pressure. Des says the thing that held me back from doing craft fairs in the past was that I was digital, wouldn't spend the money to print work that wouldn't sell. I get that. It's definitely harder. It's more challenging to sell prints. Well, okay, no. Um, there's more money up front to selling prints, obviously, because in a way, because you have to make the prints, and if they don't sell, yeah, you just wasted that money. But it's it's very hard to sell prints if you don't have them available. No one's going to buy a print and then not nobody, but most of the time people aren't going to buy a print to have you then mail it to them after the fact. So yes, it is one of the challenges of selling prints for sure. Don Lee says, I still miss a sculpture I did in college. It was one of the first pieces you ever made in plaster mold, but you didn't have room for it, and someone asked if they could have it. Wonder if it's still around. Huh? I mean, if you remember who it is, you can always ask them. Maybe they can give you they can send you a photo of it or something. Or you can buy it back from them. Or, and this is the fun one, and not saying it applies to you, but it's definitely happened to me. I've definitely had drawings or paintings where I'm like, that painting or what drawing was so good. I remember doing that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Um, and, and in my head, it's a really good drawing or painting or whatever. And I'm like, I haven't really improved that much since that because that was such a good painting and such a good drawing, and I still haven't improved since then. Blah blah blah. And then I see it for after not seeing it for years, and it's like, huh, is this is this the same one? I remember it being better. Maybe there's another one. Did I do two identical ones, but one was really good and one wasn't? Hmm. Had that happen? Donley says, I do know who it is. We were connected on social media for a while, but I don't see them in any of my friends lists anymore. I mean, if you remember their name, you probably could still like get a hold of them somehow. You know, it's just I always suffer from this. I don't remember people's names very well, so I literally will forget who people are. You know who what their name is. Even people I know, like I know these people, and I even though I know who they are, I can't remember their names. My brain just will not, pull up that information. But yeah, I've had that happen to me so many times where I think something I did in the past was really good, and then I go look at it, and I'm just like, oh, what the fuck, man. And that's actually happened. I've talked about this. This happened to me too when I thought like, oh, I'm not getting any better. I was really distraught because I was just like, man, it's been years since I've improved at all. And then I go back and look at things I did in the past like year or two, and I'm like, oh, I'm I'm just delusional is the problem. I've improved a lot in the past year. This is in the past. I'm not talking right now anymore. I'm better at like keeping track of these things now, but in the past, yeah, absolutely. And it made me feel like I really wasn't getting any better, which was really disheartening and discouraging and so on. So that's why I always encourage people to also keep their artwork or keep pictures of their artwork at least at the bare minimum. Because yeah, our brains lie to us. Or if they don't lie to us, maybe the better way of putting it would be we have imperfect memories. And so, in addition to the memory of the painting, you have the significance of it stored, and that significance is often inaccurate. That says he told me not to throw out two garbage bags of paintings. I don't think you should. If you can find a place for them, I think you should keep them. Absolutely. I'll I'm gonna do a stream at some point where I pull out some of my old boxes of paint of like drawings and paintings from when I was in art school. Um, and like go through them. Uh, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna do that though. That's the only issue is like I'm we did a lot of like figure drawing, so there's all kinds of nudity and stuff in it, which it's nothing explicit, but these websites are weird about that stuff. So I don't know. What I might do is um I don't know. I don't know how to handle that. I'm thinking like maybe I do a Discord stream and then I record it and turn that into a edited video, maybe. Pasties. No, I can't do pasties for this because it's like a bunch of figure drawing and quick sketches and stuff like that where so it's so many. Unless all I'm doing is like a few. Like if all I'm doing is just a couple, then yeah, I can do that. But if I'm doing like the box, like a big box of them, not so much. Uh Donnelly says, I do have a preliminary sketch of the sculpture. So at least there's that. That's cool. Donley says, Liat, if you want, I'll oh my god them for you. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Actually, I'll be honest, it's more to show like how bad I was. Like I'm not going to sit here and say like, "Oh, you'll see the worst drawings in the world." Like, I don't think I was the worst, obviously, because I had an inclination that I want to be an artist, so clearly I probably wasn't like I'm not going to say I was the worst ever, but it's going to be a huge difference between what you see now and what it was then. But I appreciate that, Donley. That's very kind of you. Oh my God, is an emote of a dog with its mouth open, looking surprised on Twitch. Got it. That you used to place over blurred naughty bits. I see. My brain does not. Yeah. Okay. That's on me. That's also very kind of you. I couldn't do it live. It would just be too much. Unless I do like just a couple of them. I didn't even read that right. Oh, it's not. It says, "Oh my dog," not "Oh my God." Dyslexia for the win on that one. That's for sure. I do want to mention one more thing about hair while I have it in my brain. One thing to note when painting hair um, is you want to try, and this also applies to like plants, bushes, all that type of stuff. You want to paint the volume of the thing as a bunch, as a group, right? So like big clumps of hair combined together to make a volume. Same thing with you know, trees and branches, trees and leaves and bushes and so on. And then from there, after you get that stuff down, you want to go in and break it up into the individual bits of it. So just something to keep in mind as you paint whenever those things come up. So you want to pay attention to where the light is hitting, making those clumps together look like one big piece. I used to show this on stream before. I don't know where they are right now, but I tried to do some paintings in acrylic when I was trying to figure out if I wanted to go, you know, back into acrylics or get into oils. And I did a two paintings of I did a painting. I tried to do a painting of Kylo Ren and a painting of what's her name? I can't remember her name right now. Um, and oh my God, the what's it called? The acrylic paints just the color shift that they produce uh just killed me and made it so that they look kind of like they have spots on their face, like blotches, because all the like light colors that I put in became darker as they dried, and just it looks awful. And that was one of the things that stopped me from pursuing uh, painting in acrylics versus oils. Ray, thank you. Yes, Ray. I'll be honest, I don't know if I did these before the movies came out. I think it might have been before because I have a feeling that I would not paint them afterwards, but could be wrong. Might be wrong. Maybe it was after. I'm not the biggest fan of the new movies, though. I'll be honest. They they don't do it for me. Although, arguably, the first one of the three was the best. Thank you, Donley. I see. Oh, my dog. I see it now. Force Awakens. Yeah, might have been before the movie came out, like building up to the hype. But I can't remember. It's so long ago. But Rogue One was good. I barely remember Solo. Rogue One was the best Star Wars movie. Um, Rogue One is, I think, the best Star Wars movie. Um, I'd say since Return of the Jedi, or is it, yeah, I think Return of the Jedi, right? It's A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, right? Donnelly says, yeah, Rogue One was really good in my opinion. That's the order, yeah. So that's the order, and then Rogue One is the next good movie. Donnelly says I put in tie with Empire Strikes Back. Empire is your favorite OG trilogy. That's fair. I don't know if it's as I don't know if I'd put it on par with them, but it's definitely number four if it's not in the mix of the first three. Uh, Solo, I'm so I was so disappointed with Solo. So here's the thing. I saw the trailer for Solo and I was just like, oh whatever. This I'm losing steam on Star Wars. Whatever, whatever. And then a fan made a fan trailer for Solo. It was so good that it got me pumped for the movie. And then I saw the movie and it didn't do it for me. Solo was okay in my opinion. It was just kind of neutral. I thought Donnelly talking here. Yeah, look, I don't think it was horrible. It wasn't horrible, but it, I think part of the problem is I'm kind of burnt out on Star Wars by that point, and so it you know it didn't help. You know, it just did not help. This is so funny, but not funny story. My husband and I were waiting for Force Awakens to come out in the spring. He got his cancer diagnosis, and then they gave him 6 months. The first thing he said was, "That's not going to work for me. The new Star Wars movie is coming out." Oh, yeah, that sucks. Out of curiosity, did he see it? Did he make it to the movie? Such a horrible thing to ask, but I kind of want to know now. That's a cute reaction, though. It is. It is a cute reaction. Um, Don Lee, just look up the Solo movie on YouTube and add um, Sabotage or Beastie Boys Sabotage. Yeah, someone recut the trailer to the Beastie Boys Sabotage song, and it was just like, oh my god, they didn't add anything other than the song, and they just recut it to match with the song. So good. Oh yeah, treatment extended his life for about 18 months. We took a nurse who came with us with our house care. We saw it about 10 times in theater. Uh, his nurse said she'd take him in bed if she had to. Ah, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. I'm so happy he liked it. I'm really happy he liked it because I was worried he'd make it, see it, and be like, "What the fuck, man? I held on for this." So we also saw Fury Road that much. Now Fury Road was a good fucking movie. That was a good movie. So the paint on my face over here is a little dry and tacky, so it's grabbing the brush and the color a little more than I need it to. Laura says, I'm a big Tom Hardy fan. Funny enough, I've never painted him. You need to. That'd be great. You should do that. They have that Furiosa movie coming out. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it. But yeah, they do. I hope it's good. I'm a little concerned about it, but whatever. I'm also becoming a cranky old man who doesn't like most things. So, there's that too. Like, whatever. Conley says, I heard Charlize was pissed that she wasn't considered for the new Furiosa movie coming out. I can't believe that because it's a prequel. How could she possibly play in the prequel? Like she's older than, she's older now than she was when the original came out. So like how could she do that? That doesn't make sense to me. You don't know, it could just be rumors? Probably. No, she can't be in the flashbacks. Literally the whole movie is a prequel. It happens before. So it's like there can't there aren't any flashbacks. Or maybe she wanted them to de-age her. That's maybe that stuff doesn't look good though. Maybe I will say this, maybe because we haven't, maybe the movie happens after Fury Road, but it's told as a flashback. So maybe there are little sections where, there's the like current age of her and maybe or old. Maybe she's like an old woman telling the flashbacks. So maybe that maybe could also just be rumors. Oh, I think you think you found the solo trailer? Yeah. I actually think painting beards is a really good way of learning how to paint like brushes or trees. And I think the opposite applies as well. Like if you want to practice beards, I suspect painting brushes and trees could be beneficial as well. Also, I'm gonna zoom in for a second if I can. Let's see. Okay. Will this focus more? It is digital zoom, unfortunately. I can't do not digital zoom right now. Yeah, you can't really see it. I was going to point out something, but I can't really point it out, unfortunately. Um, Don Lee's back. And he says, whoa, they should have released that as the movie. 1 minute and 16-second movie. Yeah, loved it. Yeah, it's such a good trailer compared to like the whole thing. I saw that and I was like, okay, I'm pumped. This looks awesome. Should have kept in mind it was fan made the whole time, but whatever. My brain was just dumb and was like, nope, that is good. And it's just like, all right. Yeah, it's such a good trailer. That song is just so good too. There's that. But like they cut it together so well. It just worked. I think I'm going to have to call it a night. I can feel my back starting to give me problems, and I've been having way too many problems with my back to not listen to it right now. But I was going to show, and I can't, it's so detailed, but um, let me see real quick. I'll zoom in and show it, but you're not, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to entirely see it because it is digital zoom, but maybe you can get an inclination of it. So if you see right here, this little mark right there of hair, right there, it was, the hair is going this way, but I painted it like this, and it has some of the brush marks through it going in that like opposite direction of what it should be. But because it's thin and it's in the correct angle of the beard, it still conveys this is beard, hair going in this direction, even though the strands of the mark are going opposite. Now, I'm not saying that I think every beard should be painted this way or every beard hair should be painted this way. Not at all. But personally, for a lot of my painting, I like to have those moments in there because I feel like it adds interest. It's different. It's not the same. It's not everything in the same direction all the time. And I think that's a good thing. That's one of the reasons I paint beard, hair specifically in perpendicular. Is perpendicular? Basically at a 90-degree angle at whatever it's supposed to go. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of show that before I head out. I know it's hard to see here. I'm sorry. Anyways, I'm going to have to call it a night tonight. My back has told me enough's enough. I will be back on, I'll be back on Wednesday. I will finish this painting probably on Wednesday because, I mean, come on, it's practically done at this point. Just need to make me look better, because right now, unfortunately, it's looking a lot like me. So, I gotta make myself all pretty and get rid of all the red marks. Sheesh, finish it already? I know, I am slow. I'm a lot slower when I stream. Yeah, I'm a lot slower when I stream. It's definitely a problem. Not a problem, an annoyance. Put it that way. I enjoy streaming. I do like it, so I'm happy. I'm streaming, but yeah. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, I'll be back on Wednesday. I stream Monday night, Wednesday night, and Sunday afternoon. Um, uh, I have all my socials linked below, and I have a Discord, and you can post in the Discord. You can say hi, and you can ask for critique in the feedback channel. Des, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your help. Don Lee, same. I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone new who stopped by. Eden and I'm forgetting everyone's name now. I'm bad with names. I forget your names. I'm sorry. I do appreciate it. There was something with a V and something with a J, I think. My brain doesn't work anymore. Have a good night, everybody. I'll be back on Wednesday. Yeah, that's all I got. Bye. Wait, no, I take it back. I got one more thing. We're gonna get some cat before I go. Oh, Tristan, come say goodbye for me. Say goodbye, little boy. Oh, he's so sleepy. Look at that sleepy face. He was sleeping on my chair, and he's so out of it right now. For the record, I'm not being mean and picking him up just to show him on stream. He was sleeping on my chair, and I have to sit down and use my chair, so I would have had to pick him up anyways. Isn't that right, little boy? Oh, you're so cute. He's so cute. Okay, now I'm gonna go. Now that I have a squirmy cat in my hand. The fur flying around, yeah. Have a good one. Bye.